Good day, folks. In this lesson, we're going to be creating a new scene. We're going to be importing some art assets. We're going to be creating a script. And then we'll be sort of associating that script with the object and sort of trying to understand what exactly the script does. So let's start off. In Unity, we should have our project sort of already imported and ready to go. Let's just start off by just saying new scene. And we're going to just say save. And we're going to just call this main scene, okay? So we'll just say here, let's do camel case here, main scene, and then let's just put that into our scenes folder. Okay, so we got that main scene right there. All right, so from here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be importing something into our sprites folder. All right, so let's go ahead here, let's just get sprites open. And actually, let's go into characters as well. All right, so then what we'll do is let's go ahead to the to our item in Schoology here, where it says where we have this image. Let's go ahead and just click on Download Image. All right, so there's that ruby.png. From here, let's go ahead and just import this. Okay, so we know how to do that. We just go ahead, right-click. We just say import new asset. Let me just make sure you saw that, import new asset. We go ahead to our downloads folder, and there's that ruby.png. Okay, so from there, you can see here, this is a sort of we converted that PNG to what's called a sprite. Okay, so we're going to actually bring this in as a game object now. So we're going to sort of open that, expand it. I'm actually going to go full screen for a little bit here. Expand it, and we're going to just drag this into our scene. So make sure that you have it's scene rather than game selected here. Let's go ahead and just bring this into scene. So automatically when we bring this item into our sort of scene, it's going to give us a few components. The first thing being is the Sprite Renderer. So it's like basically Unity's sort of way to convert an image, an already existing image, into a sprite. It also gives us as far as positions. Let's start off, let's set these positions to 0 and 0, the X and Y to 0, 0. Now notice, if we look here, like if we see here, our main camera is bounded by this white box. And you see, if we look at Ruby, it has a position of 0. 0 is directly in the center of that. So your default main camera has a sort of an origin point of 0, 0, kind of right in the middle. All right. The other thing we're going to do too with this is just so we adjusted that. I also want to go ahead and just let's rename this just to capital R Ruby. Okay. All right. So we are now ready to actually do some cool stuff here. So let's go ahead and with our let's create a new folder in the assets folder. Let's go to create folder. We're going to call this scripts. I think you know what's about to happen. Let's go into that scripts folder. Let's do a right click. Let's say create. And we're going to say C# script. Let's call this Ruby controller. Capital R, capital C. Ruby controller. Okay, no spaces between those. Let's go ahead then and open this up. All right, so let's just do View and Finder, and then open it up. I got to go add a full screen now. Let's open this up using our text editor. And now let's get down to business, folks. Okay, so what's going on here? Okay. These first things here are just basically dependencies. It's sort of like assets or resources that our script is going to be referencing. For now, you can kind of set those aside. This is the name of the controller. It's going to be called Ruby controller. It's like sort of the name of the file that we're creating. Now, mono behavior, we'll discuss that later down the road. But just for now, this is sort of like just something that we have to include in order for our script to run. So this is going to be the name of the component that we're going to be adding to Ruby. So like we've checked out before, like if we look at this Ruby game object, we see that it has components already. And you can add sort of like pre-built components like the box collider and all those different things that from different projects. There's all kinds of different components that you can have that are built into Unity. But how do you basically create your own components that will run exactly how you want them to run? Well, let's check that out. So again, we've got a function called start, and that's basically, as the comment describes, it's going to say, like, what are the starting conditions that you wish to have? For now, we're going to leave this blank. Now, update. This is basically like, like if we're thinking of animation, this is going to be something that's called either once, like is it 30 FPS or 60 FPS? So depending on how your game is sort of set, as far as this is going to determine how many times a second your update function is called. But for now, just know that like anything with an update is going to be called every time the frame refreshes. So now this is where we're going to be working. So if we go back to our good friend, our Ruby here, and if we sort of like move the object, we're going to note here, if we move it to the left, that X position becomes negative. If we move it down, that the Y position becomes negative. Okay, well, how could you get it so like we would want an object to move? All right, so let's go to our text editor here, and we're going to go here to our update. And so let's start off. We're going to say vector to position equals transform.position, POSITON. Okay, and I didn't spell that right, so that's pretty cool. Transform.position. Okay, so basically vector2, this is going to be a type of variable we are declaring. A variable, think of as a container that can contain numbers, it can contain words, it can contain all different types of things. But you need to first tell the computer what type of variable are you creating. What sort of basket are you building to store information? In this case here, a vector2 variable is going to be able to contain two sort of distinct bits of information: the X position and the Y position. Now this equal sign here, you got to understand we're not saying here that we're not like kind of like balancing an equation, or like we're not calculating. Usually when we read like a sentence, we read from left to right. So like in this sentence, so to speak here, update is called once per frame. I'm reading from left to right. When we have a single equal sign like this is what's called an assignment statement. And so what we do is we do math, or we do the stuff that we need here first, and then we work from right to left when it comes to an assignment statement. So what we're saying here is there's a variable. We're going to call it position. Okay? Now position is a vector2 type of variable, which is going to be able to contain X information and Y information as far as positioning. Let the variable position be set equal to whatever the current position is. Okay, so we populate the position variable with a specific value, whatever that Ruby game object is set off at initially. Okay. The other thing is with sentences or sort of statements in this scripting language, we need to sort of end our thoughts or our sentences or our sort of lines of code where we have complete thoughts with what's called a semicolon. Okay, that's just basically, in English we use periods. For this, we need to tell the computer, okay, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. All right, so what is that next thing? Okay, position.x equals position.x plus point, and we'll say 0.1 f semicolon. All right, this seems difficult, I want to make sure I'm spelling things right. Position. Okay. So again, as we were saying before, this is another equal sign here that's not like a mathematical thing. This is what's called an assignment statement. So let's read from right to left. So let's start on the right side of that equal sign first. Position.x. Okay. Position is from the last line. Position is a variable. Position is something that can contain information. Position.x. Okay. Position.x. So whatever the user, or whatever the game object is currently set at as far as its x value, let position.x be increased by 0.1f. Well, what does that f mean? The f is the type of number. This is going to be what's called a floating point number. So if you have numbers that are going to go after the decimal place, you need to specify to the computer that you want them to be what's called floating point, or you could also put a D here as well for double. But for now, we're going to say F. Okay, that's basically so that the computer knows what to do as far as like how much, how precise it should be with its numbers. Okay, so the math here is whatever the current position is as far as the x-axis, increase it by 0.1. That's not so bad. So if we look at it here, if we go back to our unity here, there's 0.1 right there. Like that's the sort of the decimal place we're going to be working with. Okay, and now it says position x. So this is basically saying this is an assignment statement. Okay, so do this math here and then set the result to position.x. So basically update that. And now this is going to be firing every time this update is called. This update is going to be either 30 times a second or 60 times a second. Okay? At 30 FPS, 60 FPS. Okay, last line. All right, and I'm just tabbing in. The white space is not important. It's just the white space being like if I tab in or not. It just increases what's called readability. All right, transform.position equals position. All right, so in this case here it's going to say whatever. So we have a variable called position. Okay, this is a variable that's going to be local, or only sort of like in the script that we're working with. So we're keeping track of position.x. We're now saying let position be equal to, let transform position be equal to this variable that we've created in our script. Okay, so we have a variable called position. We're changing it, and then we're pushing those changes to the game object. Okay. Also, just to make sure that if you have any sort of like errors, as you sort of wrote that, I also do have this code just in Schoology. So as a link Google Doc. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to just copy it real quick, just in case I made any errors, which I don't think I did, but no sense. Yeah, there we go. So no changes there. All right, so now let's go ahead and save this. Okay, and we're going to come back to this. I just want to show you. So now if we have to associate that script with our game object. So let's go ahead to Ruby. There it is. Go to Add Component, and we go to Scripts, and there's that Ruby controller that we added. Okay. I'm going to make sure, did I put it? I just want to check one thing. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run this code and see what happens. So, you see it's sort of like moved off the screen. So what exactly is happening there? Every time the update function is being called, we're adjusting the x position by 0.1. We're increasing it by 0.1. And if we look here, as far as like, let's go to our good friend Ruby, and let's like see here. So as we move it over, you see how that's increasing, that x value? We're doing that, but using a script. Now, this is sort of like, so that's it for, make sure to save, but just sort of for some more information. And so at this point, like, this is now not part of the lesson. This is just sort of an exploration of the code. So if we think of it, like looking at the syntax for this code, so what does this imply? If you can have a position.x, what's the other thing you're probably going to be able to have? A position.y. So let's go ahead here. I just copied that line of code. Okay. So let's say position.y. Okay. And it moves really quick, so I'm going to put 0.01f. Okay. So now what do you think this is going to do? This is the line we know what it does. It moves it to the right. What do you think this positive y value is going to do? I'm going to save this, and then let's run the code. I'm going to update that a second here. I also adjusted the number value from 0.1 to 0.01. So let's play that. Check this out. And you can see, since I have this item highlighted in the inspector, you can see those values increasing. Okay? So that's sort of like just one thing as far as scripting. You can also do some things too, like what would happen if you set that to negative? What would happen if you did one negative and one positive? Okay, so yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Let me get back to text edit. Let me just get rid of that, and then you should be good. If you want to play with this, I recommend it just in terms of for your understanding. And yeah, good stuff. All right, folks, this is the true ending now. I wish you the best of luck. Great stuff.